The first indication came not from sonar, but from the smell.
On the deck of the Prosperity Dawn, a deep-sea survey was nearing its end.
The ROV surfaced after its final surveying pass, a routine retrieval.
But the technicians hauling its tether caught it immediately. A sweet chemical reek.
It didn't belong to kelp, or decomposition, or diesel. Something manufactured. Something wrong.
He leaned over the vehicle's sample basket, searching for the source.
And saw what the manipulator arm had snagged. A strip of leather.
Burnished dark by salt and time, yet still strangely supple.
And stamped faintly in one corner, a mark he recognized. A luxury brand.
From airport catalogs his young South Asian daughter browsed. This was calfskin.
20 minutes later, the entire operation pivoted. The Prosperity Dawn was contracted for documentation, not recovery.
But leather this fine didn't travel in standard containers.
Yashiro sent the ROV down again, with new instructions. Search the debris field. The second descent took 4 hours, into a crushing, lightless world.
The cameras revealed a landscape of twisted metal and silence.
Then, the lights picked up the first bag, partially buried in silt.
The leather had darkened to near black, but the shape was intact. A handbag.
The regulator revealed a clasp, a carriage and horses. The symbol was unmistakable.
Even through the grainy monitor, the camera operator recognized it. Hermès.
By the third day, they had mapped the site. The bags were everywhere. Kellys, Birkins, Constances. Models worth tens of thousands each.
70 to 90 pieces. A fortune resting where pressure could crush steel.
The operation became surgical. Yashiro brought in additional ROVs and submersibles.
Piloted by contractors who had worked the Titanic debris field.
The plan was methodic. Catalogue, photograph, then carefully extract.
But the ocean had other intentions. On the 5th day, a current shifted.
The vehicle felt the lurch. The pilot compensated, but it was too late. Dislodged metal fell like a guillotine blade through the darkness.
Shearing the arm and severing lines. Black fluid erupted into the void. The submersible began an emergency ascent, spinning slowly into the light.
Yashiro halted all operations. They couldn't afford another loss.
Speed at this depth was a fantasy. Every movement required patience bordering on meditation.
Every retrieval was a small war against physics and crushing entropy.
Yashiro lifted the first one. It weighed 3 times what it should have.
But the stitching held. The craftsmanship, against all odds, had endured.
They rinsed it gently. Beneath the silt, the bag began to reveal itself.
Tanaka, who normally worked sonar, approached. She touched the metal clasp.
It moved. The mechanism, protected, still functioned after 8 months lost.
More cages came up. Each ascent identical in mechanics, unique in its tension.
Cables snapped twice, sending cages plummeting back into the abyss.
A storm forced a suspension. The ship pitched in 12-meter swells.
An ROV malfunctioned, thrusters firing wildly until it was abandoned.
But they continued. Discipline was the only thing keeping the work moving.
By the 14th day, 62 bags had been recovered. A fortune salvaged.
The investors arrived. Adjusters and conservators from Paris came by helicopter.
They shook their heads at the damage, but marveled at what had survived.
The valuation came back north of $90 million. A staggering sum.
Some were total losses. Others, protected by the silt, could be saved.
The leather would need months of treatment, but the process had begun.
Yashiro stood on deck for the final recovery, watching the last cage ascend.
He felt the weight. Not just water, but something else. Something inside.
He opened the flap carefully. The interior was packed with solid silt.
He began the slow process of excavation, washing the past away.
Deeper, he found the lining. The house's signature pattern, still there.
And beneath that, something angular and hard, wedged into a corner.
A passport. Its cover swollen, its pages fused by time and pressure.
The gold embossing on the front had survived. A single word, France.
He continued rinsing. The bag showed its original, careful construction. It was ruined by any conventional standard. A luxury object reduced to ruin.
But it was also proof.
Yeah.
Proof that craftsmanship could outlast disaster.
That human work could endure in places humans could never survive.
He set the Birkin in its case, closed the lid, and logged the final recovery.
The crew began securing the ship for the voyage home. Movements practiced.
He looked at the coordinates. Currents would soon erase all traces of their work.
The leather tomb had given up its dead. But the ocean kept countless other secrets.
That night, Yashiro stood at the stern rail while the rest of the crew slept. He had looked inside, found a name, a photo bleached beyond recognition. He thought about the person who carried it. Their last moments of terror.
Someone expecting routine transit, but finding a typhoon's path instead.
The bags had survived. The ship had not. The mathematics refused to balance.
He dropped the passport over the rail, watching it fall.
It floated for a moment before the water claimed it, without comment.
Each bag demanded a unique cocktail of oils and humectants, a careful dialogue.
The French conservators worked with the precision of surgeons repairing flesh. Yashiro kept the coffee coming, fuel for the meticulous, endless task. The controlled drying took weeks. The leather remembered its form, slowly.
The insurance adjuster signed off on the manifest, the numbers confirming the miracle.
The world now knew about the Deepwater Haul. The crew saw themselves as legends.
About the treasure.
It was just wet leather.
Some bags had fallen together, clinging to each other in the endless dark.
The climate-controlled unit sank like a stone, its precious cargo in free fall.
They washed the abyss from their deck, sending its residue back to the sea.
Silence.
The ship's heart beat steadily, turning towards home port and a long rest. On the final morning, an escort arrived. Dolphins, racing the prow.
It felt like a blessing, a return to the world of light and living things.
The containers held their secret well. No one would guess their true worth.
Land ho! Hooray! We made it! Then, land, a faint smudge that hardened into the coastline of home.
The Prosperity Dawn made port, her strange voyage complete.
Yashiro carried one case himself. He walked past the noise without a word.
He filed the mission away. But the ocean's chill remained in his bones. Months later, he found it in a museum. His Birkin, now an artifact. He saw himself reflected in the glass, over the leather. Both were changed.
A token arrived. Not money, but a tool. The highest compliment they knew.
Tanaka returned to science, but the deep now held a personal fascination.
A token arrived. Not money, but a tool. The highest compliment they knew.
Tanaka returned to science, but the deep now held a personal fascination. He found himself studying all things shaped and softened by the sea.
The ocean was still there, holding its secrets. He had taken one back.
For months, they drifted in absolute darkness, in a silence more complete than death.
Every dive was a calculation. The margin for error was measured in millimeters of steel.
Rough hands performed the final rites, swaddling the salvage in tender care.
The crew forged a new rhythm, a quiet solidarity born of shared obsession.
Sometimes, the machines saw their own ghostly faces in the treasure they sought.
They cataloged the deep souvenirs, shells and polyps that had made a home.
In dreams, he visited them. They were neither lost nor found, just existing.
The ocean beneath them was a living darkness, a presence felt more than seen.
The world debated their worth, reducing the epic to columns of stock prices.
He declined the celebrations. There was no victory, only a completed task.
Even their records began to bear the marks of water, of the pervasive deep.
The captain understood. Some voyages leave a permanent mark on your soul.
The original makers were ghosts in the room, their intent still guiding the salvage.
On solid ground, the monumental undertaking shrank to a logistical procedure.
He sought the origin, the raw animal truth, before the art transformed it.
They peered into a microscopic world, a universe within every ruined stitch.
What they found.
Old bags from the bottom of the sea.
To a child, it was a fairy tale. Sunken treasure, plain and simple.
One piece was deemed perfect. It had been cradled by silt, protected.
Its emptiness was its triumph. It had kept the deep sea completely out.
They were documented anew, their post-abyss selves immortalized in pixels.
He saw the same objects, born from different worlds. Desire untouched by depth.
Tanaka found her voice in the data, in the cold facts of the deep.
Legally, they were now just goods, their epic journey reduced to stamps and seals.
He had no quotes to give. The story was in the silence he brought back.
They would never be just colleagues again. They were witnesses to the same ghost.
The ship was scoured, returned to anonymity, ready for its next mundane contract.
Not all could be saved. Some were destined only for study, then dissolution.
The abyss had called her. She decided to answer, to seek out other ghosts.
Even its resting place was crafted, an echo of the environment that held it.
He sought patterns he could control, a simplicity far from the crushing deep.
For some, it was a story of arbitrage, a disaster turned into a net positive.
Memory held in salted skin. Artists found their own meaning. They spoke of memory and stubborn beauty.
He let go of the uniform. The sea had taken its own souvenirs from him.
It became a trophy, a conversation piece about resilience and investment.
Old sailors knew the ocean was never beaten, only negotiated with, briefly.
The sea gives, the sea takes. The sea gives, the sea takes.
Old sailors knew the ocean was never beaten, only negotiated with, briefly.
The tragedy became a case study, its coordinates used to teach new minds.
He passed on the map, but not the weight. He gave her the color, not the chill.
Academia debated. Was this the ultimate validation of the brand's myth?
The captain took one image with him, a moment of pure, improbable success.
The public saw a curiosity, a footnote to their day, a click, then oblivion.
In sleep, he completed the journey he had interrupted for the leather.
The cycle began anew. The disaster became an aesthetic, a style to be copied.
Tanaka looked down into new darkness, carrying the old knowledge with her.
The official updates were too clean. They sanitized the struggle, the smell.
She returned to the source, carrying the secret of how their work fared in hell.
He stopped seeking calm. He learned to stand in the wind, to feel its force.
The weakest point had held. The integrity of the whole relied on that one fray.
Perspective is a funny thing. He'd seen what real loss looked like. From space, it was just a point. A pixel of blue hiding all its stories.
He found comfort in utility, in leather meant to be scarred, to protect.
The leather tomb was empty. The current began filling the void with new silt.
The official record was sterile, but the handwriting betrayed the human strain.
Even the tools carried traces, needing to be purified for the next mundane job.
He sought to understand the framework that turned tragedy into transaction.
It began with a name on a map, a swirling system given an innocent title.
In another world, identical objects lived lives of pampered, predictable luxury.
That net cost me a fortune, completely gone.
He'd heard stories of greater loss. A net was a tool, not a treasure.
For a moment, a living breath clouded the glass between now and the deep.
The entire human effort could be summarized by a single, jagged, rising line.
The first clue, the catalyst, was also the most fragile. It didn't last.
The struggle became art. The strain transformed into a pulse, a beat.
Muscle memory remained. His hands knew the weight of miracles, now lifting boxes.
He studied normalcy, the simple peace of a journey with a guaranteed destination.
It now lived in a calculated climate, a far cry from the crushing, chaotic deep.
Invisible threads connected the abyss to the market. Ripples from the deep.
The sacred map became a canvas for fantasy. He preferred it that way now.
The ocean and the sky continued their ancient, indifferent dialogue above it all.